Morning. Hello there to you beautiful people out there in YouTube land and anywhere else that you are watching us, be that on X or on Rumble. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Good morning to you all. Super Lisa says it's a beautiful day here in Blackpool too. Hello there. Oh, you beautiful. Hello. I'm coming back at me right now. Good morning. You hear me? You see me, do you, Shin? How are you all? Good morning, Crazy Bunny. Hello, London lady, the Count of St. Germain. I haven't seen the ritual ceremony, but based on the site, yes, it was bad. It was bad, mate. It was really bad. And good morning to each and every one of you. Hello, John Mack and Pink Diamond and Leg Building Dorchester. Good morning, day off work. So here. Wonderful to have you with us, and good morning, Lyra. Blue skies and very sunny here in South Gloucestershire. It's very sunny here as well in southwest Greater London. Good morning, 14 and Maria and Hepperwin and Rowie and Randy and Armand and Claire and Teresa and Shalini and Derek and Paula and Leslie. Good morning to you all. How are you? Did I say hello to Steve? Good morning. Blessings from New Zealand. Blessings to you too, Steve. And how are you, Jen and Jilly? I saw the Blue Smurf, Dionysus, and that was enough to know I didn't want to watch it. Well, of course, what they're referring to is the Olympic opening ceremony. Dear God. Forgive us, Father, for we have sinned, and I'm not even religious. Right, so let's see what is in store for us. Well, what a weekend that was. France opened the 2024 Summer Olympics with a homage to the personal tastes of President Emmanuel Macron. Oh, wait, that wasn't what it was. Could have fooled me. And activist Tommy Robinson led a significant march through central London and then was arrested the following day under the Terrorism Act and bailed. A fuller video has emerged of the Manchester cop kicking the guy in the head. Tells a somewhat different story, but do we even have the full story yet? Let's delve into that a little bit later, as indeed the other stories I've just mentioned. Oh, and Barack Obama and Michelle, they staged probably the most cringe-worthy photo op that I've seen, like in recent memory. Frankly, they rang Kamala Harris, endorsed her, and honestly it was just like so embarrassing. It was horrible. You could see that somebody had held their hands behind their back and, I don't know, threatened to tell all manner of things about about Barack and Michelle, and Pete says on X this morning, you're going to have a lot of people angry on the show today, Sonia Poulton. And I understand exactly what Pete says, because you have to start to wonder, do they do all these things to deliberately rile us up? Because let us talk about this Olympic opening ceremony. It would be remiss of me not to. Emmanuel Macron tweeted as the Olympic opening ceremony was taking place on Friday evening, "This is France." And well, my God, if that's France, I don't even know what to say. We were given debauchery, we were given Satanism, we were given children in tunnels. This was a power display of considerable darkness on the world stage. And Macron opened the Olympics, said, let's celebrate the 33rd Olympiad of modern times. One of the central aspects that people found deeply offensive was a mixed group, heavy on the drag queens around a table. Those of us who could see that this was an apparent parody of Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, the portrait, which is obviously based on the Last Supper of Jesus before he was sold out. But others said it was based on another famous picture associated with the Olympics, that of Dionysus and the Festival of Feasting. Some religious groups condemned the ceremony, including the Catholic Church in France, who said it included scenes of derision and mockery of Christianity. And in a press conference on Sunday, the Olympics spokesperson apologized for any offense caused and insisted that the ceremony intended to, I quote, celebrate community tolerance. The quote was, clearly, there was never an intention to show disrespect to any religious group. On the contrary, I think Thomas Jolly, who was the artistic director, did try to did try to intend to celebrate community tolerance. We believe this ambition was achieved. If people have taken any offence, we, of course, are really sorry. Sounds like it. Thomas Jolly, being the proudly queer artistic director, he's an actor, comedian, theatre director who has explored LGBTQ plus themes in his stage work. And he said that he wanted to ensure that the opening ceremony makes room for everyone in Paris. And the opening ceremony would only be a success if everyone feels represented. Well, the main community Mr. Jolly seemed to be focused on was dressing men as women. We saw one debauched scene after another, and one man with low-hanging balls. This is France, as I say. Emmanuel Macron had enthusiastically tweeted during the opening, but the following day, the video of the ceremony had disappeared from all the official channels, and the Olympic organisers were busy issuing takedown notices on the internet for anyone showing video clips from the opening ceremony. And people rushed to say that the image was not anti-Christian, was not anti-Christ, was not sacrilegious, that it was, as I say, based on the feast of Dionysus. I am not convinced, can I say. I've studied both of them. I've studied the imagery of the feast of the gods, which is what it was supposed to, that we're being told it was taken off. And I've studied the Last Supper, and that was the Last Supper. Pretty sure it was based on the Last Supper. It's just because everything's gone, upside up or whatever, and I don't really care what it is, but what I do care about is the whole darkness around it, the absolute shoving down our throats of the agenda on an almost constant basis. It wasn't really an apology they gave. They don't really care. That's the reality. And the question is now really, why have France been given the Winter Olympics 2030? There's that year again. That was announced over the weekend that France had secured the Winter Olympics for 2030. I wonder if it was something in the opening ceremony that decided the globalists that yes, France and probably Emmanuel Macron is our man to do this. And we were also given Celine Dion. Celine Dion. And they like to shove out Celine Dion because she's supposed to be this kind of like purer than pure individual. Oh my God, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Celine Dion is one messed up individual. She was groomed by her manager, who she eventually married. He was managing her from the age of 12. And he was 26 years older than her. And Celine has frequently referred in interviews to having to keep her love secret and other obvious stuff. So I'm fairly certain they were having a sexual relationship from very early on. That's Renee Angelil, and married Celine Dion in 1994 as she rose to prominence. The singer was just 26. Pair went on to have 3 children. Renee Angelil is now dead. And Celine Dion has just continued to be batch crazy. I mean, on an almost constant basis. I don't know if you remember her genderless clothes for children. And that was all quite creepy imagery as well, where she used crosses and babies in kind of very dark black cots and just really dark imagery. And again, religious people were really quite concerned about some of the imagery that she was pumping out in her children's clothes. And they also had Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga, you remember when she wore an outfit of dripping blood meat, right? Do you remember that? I mean, these people are psychotic, right? And also, do you want to know a way how not to spread satanic imagery? Don't share it. Don't share it on social media. Yeah, talk about it, comment on it. But your sharing of it surely gives it power, right? And I've seen so much imagery this weekend from the Olympics that honestly, job done, frankly. Job done for them. It's awful. It's horrible. It's psychotic. I'm going to welcome in Jeffrey Peel in a moment. I want to talk to him about the Tommy Robinson March and other issues going on. How are you there in the comments today? How are you? What's going on? Sonia, oh my God. Okay, you should see the speed of these comments, people. So artistic. Who did? She pushed the jungle juice, jabs. Who was that? Was that Celine Dion? Was it? Hugo says another celebrity has sold their soul. And inside your body is the new thing. There was a rock music bit on the old prison where everyone was beheaded. Yeah. So that was a heavy metal band, wasn't it? Yeah, and they had the beheading as well. The imagery was right out there, wasn't it? Let's be honest. And honestly, we all kind of suspect something about the Macrons. Let's be real here. And don't forget, there's an ongoing court case in France for people who have claimed that Brigitte Macron is in fact male. But it is absolutely evident, no doubt about it, that Macron has, shall we say, certain sympathies with the world, but the world that I don't particularly like, I don't embrace, not my kind of world. Me and Macron, we're on opposite ends of the table. Oh yes, we are, absolutely opposite ends of that the Last Supper table. And by the way, as Lovely Monkey pointed out on X, the imagery around that table, of course, was once you start to compare it, you can see quite clearly it's the Last Supper. But the image of where Judas was in the Last Supper, they used a child for it. These people are horrible. They're so horribly cynical. They really are. Right, let's welcome in Jeff, see what he's got to say about our mad world. And let us not get mad. Let us get even, people. Let us get even. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Sonia.
Good to have you with us, Jeff. People are mad and angry this morning about a number of things, and that includes the Olympics opening ceremony, the Tommy Robinson, not the march so much, but obviously him being arrested, a whole number of things. And the thing is, I get the impression half the time, Jeff, that the aim of the globalists is to tick us off. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's clear that they're trying to create a kind of two-tribe narrative, and it's kind of tit for tat. I think I've said this to you in the past in various other interviews. That I find the situation that's developing globally very similar to the situation that used to exist in Northern Ireland, where you had two tribes competing with each other, and it was tit for tat. They always tried to outdo each other, and now it seems that we're being given two alternatives in terms of this agenda. The opening ceremony was a brilliant exemplar of how they used woke ideology and gender bending and so on to rile us. And understandably, people got very upset about it. I was watching it myself, and I thought this is absolutely disgraceful. There wasn't a single man that I could see participating in the ceremony who looked either non-trans or non-gay. There wasn't a single heterosexual man portrayed. And similarly, the women were dressed in a way which implied that everybody really wants to take part in a mass orgy.
Right.
And, was that a fair way to represent, France and French achievement? So it was all designed to annoy us, and here was, of course, a global event designed to annoy. And then the counterbalance is that people respond in a way which says, oh, no, we can't put up with this nonsense. We need to restore traditional values. And they start elaborating on things that come across as a kind of counterbalance to globalism, which is in some ways equally abhorrent. I don't really want either of them. I don't want either of these alternatives.
No.
It's either woke globalist or Zionist alt-right.
Right.
And
right.
I just don't understand what's going on. But I do think that they're creating a narrative, and I think probably the origins of a lot of the narrative are from the same people. It's clear that by dividing us along these tribal lines, they ultimately will conquer.
Is the thing. I get this sense that we're being continually played, Jeff. And I mean, I think you and we are experienced people, right? We've seen this. This is not our first rodeo, but for some people, it is their first rodeo. Some people only kind of woke up to the madness over the last 4 years. And so it's still quite a fairly early thing. And so some of these kind of playbook tactics that are being used, even though you and I may have seen them many times over, not everybody has. So it's quite easy to fool us. But the thing is, while they have us so mad and so angry, they're doing all manner of things behind our back. We have to learn to control our emotions, don't we, to what we're being fed?
Yeah. Yes, I think the last thing we want to do is to respond in the way they want us to respond. There's obviously the depiction of the Last Supper. That it was offensive with bells on, and it was so offensive that it was clear people would react the way they did. But I think probably the best way to react, because how it looked was like a sort of a melding together of It's a Knockout and Eurotrash,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's
yeah.
I think the way we should treat it. This is just utter trivia, and
Right,
and
right.
they're provocative, and they want us to respond in that way. And yes, it's clear that it was interesting that that there was a whole panoply of actors in front of us at the opening ceremony. But of course, I get the sense that there are actors playing on both sides.
Yes,
Mary Finch has discussed this at length as to whether the people who are in the public eye, including Tommy Robinson and the rest of them, are simply players out there designated to provoke. How many times has Tommy Robinson been imprisoned?
I know.
And what has he achieved with all of this imprisonment?
Right. Right. So let's talk about that then. So the thing is obviously I have a fair amount of people who watch my broadcasts who also watch Tommy Robinson. And I've never claimed to be a Tommy Robinson supporter simply because he and I are kind of like diametrically opposed on so many issues. And I do understand. But the thing is that what he represents is a voice of people who feel that they're going unheard. And that is a gap that has been waiting to be filled, isn't it, Jeff?
It is, but the question is whether people who find this effect. David Curtin is a good case in point, because his response is that, and I don't agree with him, on a lot of issues, in that, I don't have any religious faith, for example, but his response is, this is offensive to me, and I don't want the counterbalance to be people like Tommy Robinson, organize. And how did he even organize it? The fact is that Robinson would need to have some establishment credentials in order to be able to organize an event like that. And I know it was all organized by Telegram and so on. But the fact is that you cannot just organize a huge rally in that way. But who has designated Tommy Robinson to be our representative?
Right.
We all want nuanced debate about how the future might pan out, and how our elected representatives should behave, and how we respond to this creeping globalism. But who decided that it was going to be Tommy Robinson that would represent this counter view to globalist woke? I certainly didn't.
Right.
And I've seen it so many times. You mentioned earlier other occasions where the playbook has been played, and it is clear that there's an alarm going off outside. It's clear that they have done it in a similar way many times, in that they choose a particular firebrand to represent a counter view, and the net result is that counter view is discredited immediately. So I didn't choose Tommy Robinson. He certainly doesn't speak for me. And while he may well represent certain viewpoints of your constituents, if you like, your viewers, he doesn't represent the totality of that view. And by running in a certain extreme direction, he implies that we agree with those extreme directions.
Yes.
We don't.
Yes.
We need a debate. We need a proper debate, not a two-tribe narrative.
I completely agree with you. And the thing is that there's a sense of forced teaming going on, isn't there? It's like we so oppose the kind of, that Olympic narrative, that whole kind of, the queer agenda and everything. But you're absolutely right. By the same token, who appointed him this? And what we were hearing at the march was, we want our country back, right? But they were also on the same token saying that this march was about uniting people all across the nation. Now, Tommy Robinson, even if you're a fan, is not the person to be uniting people. That is not going to happen, is it, Jeff?
Absolutely not. And that's to an extent the reason why. And I'm still of the view that there may well be, again, to mention Mary Finch, she has come out and said that she believes that probably Tommy Robinson is being handled. He could well be an agent of the state. If you present this extreme narrative, it puts people off a narrative which may well have some merit. So by choosing people to associate with the narrative, you debase the narrative. And at no point was there any decision made that he was going to become our, and Katie Hopkins too, there are many out there who.
Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and again, I've watched Katie Hopkins' videos. I agree with an awful lot that she occasionally says in her videos, but to then say, well, I'm with Tommy, and therefore people who have agreed with me in the past might necessarily agree with Tommy Robinson or my viewpoint, which comes across as a little bit Zionist and a bit white supremacist. I'm sorry, but I don't. And I don't think it's fair that people were tweeting the fact that there were no Palestinian flags in the audience. Therefore, it was a wonderful family-oriented event. Well, some of us think that what's happening in Gaza is absolutely morally reprehensible.
Right.
That doesn't make us globalist woke. That simply means that we have a humanitarian perspective on these things.
Right. Right. So I mean, I literally agree with everything you're saying here, Jeff. And the thing is that I really don't want these people, this agenda, the overarching globalism that is taking place to colour how I feel about our world, because there's so many wonderful things going on, but we're constantly being told, aren't we, to look this way, don't look that way. And the level of division that's taking place, how do we tackle it? How do we say, look, we recognise what's taking place here. You're trying to divide us up and we don't agree with that. How do we actually stop it? Because when you see a march like Tommy Robinson, and like I said, there's an awful lot of people there who I know for fact are not racist and not bigots, but they're angry and they feel that they're not being represented. So what do we do? How do we, tackle it so it's not a Tommy Robinson and it's not an Emmanuel Macron? How do we get to the middle place?
I think we have to decide that we do not take either tribal position. If we take the tribal position, that means that we're kind of we're categorizing ourselves, we're containing ourselves in terms of our response, and that means that we lose our freedom of speech. So it means that we have to say we're going to take a nuanced view. It's wrong, fundamentally wrong, to say that the ills of the world have been caused by Palestinians, or the ills of the world are caused by Israelis, or the ills of the world are even caused by globalists or nefarious actors. We need to take a view that we as individuals need to respond appropriately. And we need to think, we need to engage our brains and wonder, is this narrative being pumped out by somebody to put us against each other? And that, I think, is what's going on. The world is being, and it's playing out in America as well. You've now got Trump apparently as the savior of America against, the same kind of wokeism that was displayed at the opening ceremony, and appointing J.D. Vance, who's himself handled by Peter Thiel, so it's a different form of technocracy that is being offered to us as an alternative to woke globalist technocracy. It's not the answer. The answer is about us thinking and considering how we are being played. And it's difficult. People have become used to kind of outsourcing their thinking processes to members of parliament or
Right there.
government. They
Right there.
need to engage their brains and say, I'm sorry, this guy or this organization or the World Economic Forum or Macron or Tommy Robbins, none of those people speak for me. I speak for myself, and I'm taking a view based on looking at the available evidence and deciding who appears to be in this world decent. You know, that's
We're
what
going to
it's
be digging
about.
for a long time, because the problem is that the very people who want to, to take this kind of power, they're, for the most part, they're fairly iffy from the get-go. There's usually something like psychologically amiss with these people. But I completely take your point. We have to stop being played. Everybody, this is Jeff P, or he's a commentator. He's the editor of The New Era. Thank you so much, Jeff. We will speak to you very soon. Have a great week. Take good care of yourself. Thank you.
Thanks, Sonia. All the best.
Brilliant,
Bye-bye.
brilliant. I have to say, people, I do agree with pretty much everything Jeff has just said. And I do feel that we are being played, but I am absolutely aware that there will be people in the chat who love Tommy, and I'd pay to watch Katie Hopkins swim the channel, says Ian Clark. And the thing is that just a person against unjust genocide. What's that? Elle says Tommy is not a bigot or a racist. Space Cat says the classic divide and conquer. And Chris says stay calm, discriminate, take care of each other. The dark side cannot deal with this. Love wins every time. And Chris says exactly, Jeff, I don't follow Robinson, I go by my own instincts. And Lyra says Jeff is spot on. Thanks, Jeff. But Heppel wins, right? Don't pick a side. That's the thing, because here's the thing. I can be one of Tommy Robinson's biggest critics, but I also recognize within some of the things he's saying, I agree with some of those things. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Some of the things that he talks about, I obviously agree with, like child grooming as one example. Daniel, I don't think for a second that Jeff is sitting on a fence. Isn't he very, very clearly stating that there is a problem here? Hugo says, I believe Robinson started off with good intentions, now working for the state, I believe. Well, I do. I mean, the thing is, we do absolutely know, because they don't bother hiding it, that both Tommy Robinson and Katie Hopkins are proud Zionists, both of them. Red said, love is all we need of the highest order. Boo Som Entity said it's called a limited hangout. Spooky Spoon says, only with love and respect for one another can we beat the cabal. But can I just say, I don't actually think Tommy Robinson's arrest yesterday was stage managed or handled. I don't. I actually don't. I do think that there wasn't there a real legal reason behind it? And that is he showed a video that a judge had banned. Now, I mean, because actually it repeats a libel and it repeats an allegation that Tommy was found wrong to have said in the first place. And that apparently was the reasoning behind it. But if I wanted to play devil's advocate here and say that, no, Tommy Robinson is absolutely not a pawn of the state, that he is actually standing up for men and women on the street, then there was a huge amount of people. There's a big turnout on Saturday. I don't know the numbers, but it was a significant turnout. And if let's say that he is on our side, just suspend your disbelief for a moment. Just say he is. It's a very good reason to remove him and take him off the streets and send out a chilling message to everybody else. But also it could be to send out a chilling message to everybody else that, look, when you protest, we'll come after you, we'll arrest you. So it'll be interesting to see, won't it, exactly what happens in terms of those charges. And by the way, I understand that the organisation Hope Not Hate was somehow involved in the arrest. I don't know whether they'd reported it to police or whatever. But Hope Not Hate are not on our side either. They want to shut down free speech. I mean, that's the thing, is people have to be really careful which heroes they choose to follow. I say no heroes. Be your own leader. Far preferable. Yeah, be your own leader. Much better. Daniel says, sorry, I'm not giving any child groomers any leeway, whatever their demographic. And me either. I don't know, Daniel, why you'd think for a second that I would. HK Very says, please watch Tommy Robinson's interview by Jordan Peterson. Eye-opening. I have to say, cannot bear Jordan Peterson. I literally cannot bear him. I watched only about a quarter of the interview with Elon Musk, and it was absolutely unbearable. Jordan Peterson, not only does he look like the Joker on an almost constant basis these days, I did a deep dive on Jordan Peterson and what he's about. But he is so full of his own importance that he doesn't actually let his interviewees talk properly. He was constantly talking over Elon Musk. Shalini said, yes, Nick Lowe's tweeted the Met Police. TR did an expose on hope, not hate. Interesting. And Pink Diamond said, in my experience, most heroes have a tendency to turn into villains. Anyway, there are so many people who I used to think were cool who turned out to be horrible people. No more heroes anymore, says Ian. Ian, that almost sounds like a song. And listen, let us welcome in our next guest. Very much looking forward to talking to her. Haven't talked to her for a while. And I want to kind of send out a general message to all you wonderful people all around the globe, or flat earth, whichever way you want it. And oh, there she is. Hello, Vanessa.
Hello, Sonia. One moment.
Wonderful. Well, Vanessa's just fixing up. I just want to send a message out because Vanessa is actually talking to us from, you're talking to us from Japan, aren't you? You're in Japan, aren't you? You are in Japan. So this is a message to all of our global supporters, watchers, you name it. And that is, contact me and let us have a conversation about where you are, just as I'm about to have with Vanessa, because I really want to make this, a global show. It is already anyway, because we have people from all over the world. Vanessa, you were with us before, long time ago when I used to do Rise, and you'd contacted me as a student. Yesterday, I looked through all of our correspondence and I was reminded. So you contacted me about a student because you were one of the very few people who were prepared to stand up and question the COVID narrative as it was happening. You were being isolated and ostracized as a student, which I've heard from other students that they were going through. But you also were the first person to contact me about K-pop and about the kind of the dark symbolism that exists. Do you remember that? And I started to look into it and BTS and everything. And on Friday, I actually did a deep dive into K-pop about the disproportionate amount of K-pop artists who are dying under mysterious circumstances. But I was reminded over the weekend, my camera's jumping around again. I was reminded over the weekend that it was actually you who said to me, you need to check this out. You need to look at this. And you were absolutely right. The imagery was as dark as anything. So first of all, lovely to see you again. Thank you for being here with us. Why did you leave Germany?
Oh, I mean, you probably know what the situation is like in Germany. And, if you visit Germany and go there for 2 weeks and look at the nice castles, you might think, oh, it's really nice. But if you live there and you know the conditions, which are quite unfair, actually, politics that are corrupt, that lie, everybody knows, nothing changes. And I mean, of course, what happened during COVID, I had enough. That's the summary.
You're a truth seeker, though. That's the thing. And so it became untenable for you because even in a very difficult situation, like all the pressures that were facing you as a student, you still refused to be bowed by it and cowed into silence and conforming. So when did you up and leave to go to Japan?
Actually, almost 1 year ago, at the end of August, last day of August, I arrived here. So
how long are you intending to stay there?
Forever. My goal was
this is a permanent move.
Right. I mean, I'm fighting to get my visa. It's not so easy here. In Germany it's very easy, but here not. I have to fight a lot and try to find jobs or interns. So now I found a solution. I have an intern, so I will have a visa for 6 months. But after this, I have to find a full-time job. And actually, I had a job interview today. So it's not so easy, but I'm trying to stay here.
What things are important to people in Japan and the Japanese?
I mean, now I'm actually researching about the labor conditions because in the Western world, I think we had the image of the hardworking salaryman. I think it's still kind of the image. And actually, it's kind of true. If you go outside, especially in Tokyo, you see many people who are still drunk at 11, 12 p.m. and go home at the late night because they work 11 hours. So it's still the same. I think this is still a huge issue, actually, but kind of changing now. because of the technology changes also. But yeah, I think this is a huge issue, and then the demographic changes also. I mean, like in Germany, I think Britain too, UK too, the demographic change, and yeah, still talk about women's rights, kind of.
I mean,
But
sorry, go on.
Yeah, and COVID like is forgotten, it's over. So yeah, nobody talks.
Onto the next thing. The thing is, obviously, what we know a great deal about Japan is how kind of advanced Japanese are in terms of kind of technology, and I mean, is that absolutely apparent to you?
Definitely. I mean, they still make jokes that they use the, how do you pronounce it, the fax system. They have the machine still. Is it
Right.
fax? Like
The what? The manual system are you talking about? Are you talking about people doing things by hand?
Kind of in the bureaucracy still, but in other fields, especially when it comes to work, I think it's definitely a different world. Or if I go to the restaurant, like an iPad everywhere is normal, and yeah, there's a huge difference, I think. Like it seems as if Germany kind of is like 20 years behind.
Wow, really? Germany has
Yeah.
always been known for productivity. And so you're saying, but they're like 20 years behind. That's extraordinary. So in Japan, who matters in terms of what Western leaders are talked about?
I think the US still. US a lot.
Trump.
And yeah, there was an article I read 2 days ago, right, about Trump, what happened, which I'm questioning too, but okay. Yeah, about this, and that the election that will come will be important for Japan too. Oh, and the Ukraine war, not so much, but still kind of because of the gas, and Japan is dependent on imports from other countries because they don't have oil or gas or like
But the Middle East, is that a topic of conversation at all? What happens between Israel and Gaza?
a bit. And I saw protests in Tokyo, and when I was in Shibuya, like huge district, kind of business and shopping district there, I saw protests there, and I saw also a protest against the Olympics. So
when you say a protest against the Olympics, what's just happened, or the Olympics in general?
it just happened, and also in
The
general.
opening ceremony, people are protesting against that.
Yeah, I saw it. There are actually kind of few people, and I'm always surprised when I see protests and strikes or something like this, because Japan usually they don't strike. They want harmony, peace, so no conflict. So if I see a protest somewhere, I think, wow, it really, really must mean something for them. So
were they angry, the protesters to do with the Olympics, were they angry for the same reason as us? And that is kind of like the darkness and the depravity and the debauchery and all that sort of stuff.
they didn't say, I don't know, I have to research more, but they only were screaming like, like end the Olympics, don't do them, kind of like this. But they didn't say any reasons, but there was quite a few people, and I mean Shibuya, many tourist foreigners there, so yeah, quite impressive to see.
How's the economy over there?
I mean the debt is pretty high, but every country has high debt. So I mean the wages, they don't rise, but the cost of living, they rise. So it's a huge problem, actually.
Is it a decent standard of living for people?
You mean when I mean the
so like in the UK, I often talk about this, that when I was growing up, people only needed one job in order to be able to buy their home and do everything else. Now you need, two people in the home just to be able to rent a property for the most part, right? So our standard of living has deteriorated hugely, while the cost of living has obviously skyrocketed. And I just wonder what it is like in Japan. Like, are people living well? Are people able to go out, dine out, dress well, eat well? Is that, or are people like us that, some people are forced to do 2-3 jobs?
Oh, thank you for the explanation. Okay, so now I understand. So definitely, I think since 30 years, it's common, like what is it called, the double household, that they have to, like the man and the woman have to work. But of course, the woman, because of the children, only has the part-time job, which has a lot of disadvantages. Not so much money, they can get a dismissal quite fast and so on. Okay, but that's another topic. But it's usual that the husband and the wife both work because otherwise it's just too expensive. The good thing is the taxes here are not so high. Also, the money that you have to pay for the insurance is not so high. So this is good, but the wages still are low. So it's, yeah, people, especially if they have a family, if they want children, they have to work. They both have to work.
Is it quite traditional households, as in, you know, because what you just said there, basically, you know, like the father's going out to work, mama's keeping home. So is it quite still quite traditional there?
I think so. But it's not really seen so negative, actually. In
Right.
the Western world, maybe all the women, like she should work after 1 month of
Right.
feeling
Like
work.
she's oppressed to be in the home.
Please. Give her
Yes.
some peace to heal and just, bond with the child and so on. But okay, different topic. But here, I think the image is not so bad. Some women, of course, want the career, and then it's difficult to proceed because then eventually, if you want a higher position, they will question you. Oh, they will look at your age and then ask you, you try to get married or get children. That could be a problem, but in general, I think many people actually have a positive image, and many, yeah. There's a word, I forgot the word, but Japanese word actually for women who want a good job at a known company, only to find a good husband there.
Oh, what? I
And then
mean,
so they, yeah.
culture is so interesting. I'm fascinated by all different cultures because what may be offensive to me is embraced by somebody else in a completely different culture. And obviously, what we've been told in the Western world is that we need to do it all. We literally
Mhm.
need to do it all. Women need to, you know, birth babies, raise them, do a full-time job, have a career, look fabulous. You know,
In
we
the
need
house, right?
it's constant, isn't it? It's constant pressure. And
Yeah.
I wonder when we're going to take the foot off the pedal of that, you know, and kind of be a bit more relaxed about it. And I do also wonder how Japanese see us, for one example, you know, whether we are see, because what you were saying about the protest to do with Olympics, that gives us a bit of an insight that clearly some of the behavior of Europeans is not to the liking of Japanese. But I just wonder whether we're seen like Western values are seen so poorly these days, aren't they? We see people practically stripping online. Kanye West cannot go out without a half-naked woman accompanying on the streets. You know what I'm saying? And these are seen as debauched Western values. And I just wonder how that is seen in Japan, things like that.
Mm, I think they want women to be more modest. So they think eventually that for Western women it's okay, but like they wouldn't respect her as much or see her as a woman, you know. Like they wouldn't want to date her seriously, kind of in that direction. Some people think Western women are easy because of this, but many don't know so much. And I think for the most part, they have like respect and still see the Western world, like the Europe and US, positive in a positive light. Oh, I think the video got off. Sorry.
Don't worry. I'm sure it'll come back. Ask the start video. Let me see. It
Oh,
will come back. There you
oh.
go. Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Actually, it's a very good connection. It is a very good connection. I can hear you clearly. I can see you clearly. And I must say, you are looking very well. You are
thank you.
looking very well. I
No.
think it's doing you good. I think we've got quite a lot of people here who've been to Japan or want to go to Japan. London lady, you've been to Japan 5 times, worked there legit and also underground. Wow. And Humphrey said that was a government psyop making women feel guilty for just being a homemaker. And I mean, I think we know that. We realize that now is the point is certainly about feminism the woman should do whatever she wants to do. And if that includes being a homemaker, she should do it without being guilt tripped, right? But it sounds like where you are, they embrace that more, that tradition much more.
Yeah, and it's kind of strange that women here were really more feminine clothes, and it's okay. Like in the Western world, maybe they would think, oh, it's so, I don't know, kind of cheesy or childish. But here, if you have a
Yes.
bow in the hair, actually, it's like cute, normal. I don't think, and nobody would say anything. Oh, what a child, or grow up. No, many do this, or many wear skirts and dresses. It's normal. What I wanted to say is, what people talk about, though, criticize or think it's strange, is the whole transgender issue, and the general questioning of the gender so much in extreme way, I think.
Really?
because
So there is some concern. There is a lot of questions being raised over there about that. That's interesting.
yeah, they don't accept the mixed toilet so much. They tried to do it for the Olympics kind of, but most people said no. That's crazy, don't do this.
Maybe we should be looking to Japan a bit more, see what they're saying over there. And what about you? How have you been received? Are you, because obviously there's so much kind of anxiety and animosity that is being created when people travel to other countries these days. But how are you? How have you been received?
I think, well, everybody's nice to me and they're curious and want to talk. Yeah, nothing really too negative. Maybe 2 negative encounters I had. One time at the temple, a woman just said kind of, I should go away. But in a negative way, but I mean, no, usually the people are very kind and curious and want to talk. So yeah.
Nice.
But I think it
Nice.
depends on the skin color actually. If I were
Oh,
black,
do you?
it's
Oh,
still
okay. So you think there's racism? That you think that
definitely
if you had a different skin color as opposed to white, there might be more issues.
more issues, yeah. Still, most people are nice. They don't care, but I've seen reactions. Yeah.
You have. Vanessa, it's so lovely to see you again. It really is so lovely to see you again. So are you working over there?
Now I have 1 month of like free time, and in 1 month in
Wow.
September I kind of will start working. Yeah, so
What are you going to be doing?
I will work at a what is it, German International Office organization? No, German tourist organization. Oh, I like this. So yeah, I will help
Wait,
them
so
out.
you're going to be encouraging people to go to Germany even though you don't want to be there? Is that what you're
Yeah, kind of.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So wonderful to see you today, Vanessa. Everybody, this is Vanessa Wichinski. So gorgeous to see you. Take good care of yourself. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, and your hair looks great too. You look great too.
Thank you, darling. I
It
very
was
much
nice to see
appreciate
you,
it.
and yeah, good job
Bless
as always.
you. You're an angel. Very sweet, sweet individual. This is Vanessa, everybody. Take good care of yourself. Thank you for joining us all the way from Japan today. Take care. Have a great
Bye.
week. Thank you,
You
sweetheart.
too.
Bye. Bye. Yes, she's lovely, isn't she? Isn't she lovely? Until you try and walk out, but get shoved back in. What's that? Wendy talking about Mr. Menno doing a great short on YouTube. Right. So let us have a look at some news. Wonderful, glorious people. So what did I want to talk? What did I want to cover first? Really? So much to cover. Now I have to try and be out of here by 10:30, 11:15 at the absolute latest, right? And can I just quickly refer back to the Tommy Robinson thing and the arrest? It strikes me that it's interesting that Yvette Cooper, who husband, interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Wife of Ed Balls, both of them, she's a politician still, he's a former politician. She's now the Home Secretary. And a video has emerged of her from a couple of years ago when she was part of one of the committees in Parliament. And she's talking about how when she logged onto YouTube, the first video she got was Tommy Robinson. And one has to wonder why he suddenly got arrested when she's the Home Secretary. I'm just wondering. Can we talk about this Manchester scenario? This is not good, right? So Manchester Airport, we all saw it, didn't we? We all saw the cop give that guy a right kicking in his head, and it created so much fury and protests. And there was this sort of controversial TikTok lawyer who was at the center of it. And all those things are going on. And so here's why we all have to be super careful about how we react to things on social media, because sometimes we only get half the story, myself included. Anyone see the newer, fuller footage of the event, which resulted in 19-year-old Fahir Mohammed Amas having his head kicked in? Well, had a head kick in, which we were then told resulted in a cyst on the brain. And it was symptomatic, we were told, of police racism, of police brutality. But the question is, was it really? Was it really, really, really? Obviously shared online, all over mainstream media. The footage provoked absolute uproar. And as I say, a series of anti-police protests. But the way of these things, it was not particularly in context. And we've now seen a fuller context, but not a complete context. So the footage I've seen shows 3 police officers going up to Fahir, who was at a machine paying for his car parking at Manchester Airport. There is no sound, but the next thing I see is one of the cops grabs him by the neck and then all hell lets loose. Fahir appears to have the strength of 6 humans all at once. And one has to wonder whether we're being played again against each other. This whole idea that Muslims as the enemy is an agenda, it's being pushed. I don't believe they are the enemy for 1 minute. I'm not religious, and I don't like the way Islam seeks to dominate all it touches. I don't like that at all. Whether that's women or country, but we have been steered in a certain way since 9/11, and people who are awake realize this, right? Here's the thing. I understand that kick. And given what I've now seen in the video, I probably also would have been as enraged as the cop and so scared and so reactive, because Fahir was monstrous. You only have to watch that video. Like, honestly, he was like some kind of bionic man. And he threw down this policewoman. They said he'd broken her nose. He was just going crazy, like fighting these police, right? And so the thing is it is highly likely that after all of that and him going crazy, once he's down on the floor, I may well have given him a kick too. I may well, because he went mad and he created chaos and huge damage to people in there based on the fuller video we've seen. But I'm not trained to be a cop. And that head kick was still wrong. It was still unprofessional, and it will still work against both the cop and the police, because he was down on the ground. I think he'd been tasered by then. And that was a reactive kick. It was, and it won't help them at all. I understand it. Honestly, I do. On a human level, I would have taken him out myself, seeing the way he behaved. Honestly, truly atrocious. But that is the difference between me and police, is they are trained to be able to react differently to these people. What are your thoughts, people? Did you see the fuller video now? Has your opinion changed on this? Pink Diamond said, yeah, Pink Diamond said, I think the police have a duty to be a little bit more professional than they were. George said, if the kick was during the scuffle, then no problem. But the guy was tasered to the floor. And that's the thing, isn't it? Sneevron says, we got on fine with Muslims until some rich people started demolishing skyscrapers in Manhattan and blaming them for it. That's a good point, Sneevron Sykes. That is my kind of 9/11 point, right? Yes, that's right, Merv. The other guy with the beard was also raining blows on the cops. Listen, it's a hard job being a cop. Honestly, dealing with crazy people, on a regular basis, violent people. These guys went mad. They went absolutely mad. I'll admit it. I like the message that kick sent, said Chris. Julie said, John and Chasing Descent did a good talk through the video last night. Good having an ex-firearms cop take on it. Interesting. I am not condoning what they did, Outrunner. Can you not hear what I'm saying? I'm saying that me, as a human caught in that situation, I would have probably done the same thing. But I'm saying as a cop, you can't do that sort of thing. You can't. You simply can't. I hate violence too, Count. And Humphrey said, the force are not there to dish out discipline and physical punishment. And Craig said, the world's a stage, isn't it? Like, isn't it? But you know what? I don't even feel that we've got the full story yet. We're still missing what on earth led to the cops going up to these brothers in the first place. What took place prior to that? And it's awful, isn't it, that we get piecemeal information? It is designed, honestly, to divide us. Let us not allow them to do that to us. We deserve better. We absolutely do. We deserve so much better. Right. What have we got here? Hello, Sonia. I love the variety of your breakfast show and I love the interaction with viewers. I have a question. You talk about narcissists and how you have always attracted them. Me too. Can you give me any advice on dealing with them from a personal perspective, says Dawn. I can, Dawn. The best thing to do with narcs is to cut them off completely, if you can. But if you have to interact with them, no matter how infrequently, the best way to do so is to learn to respond to their madness, not react to it. They want to prod and provoke you, but allow yourself the luxury of creating space between you and them so you can decide whether what they have said or written or done or whatever deserves a reaction or a response, not a reaction, because it's the reaction, because the aim is always to trigger you, to, you know, provoke you in some way, whether that is through kind of passive aggressive behavior or overt aggression. Either way, Dawn, you deserve better. You absolutely do. We all deserve better than having to be constantly responding and reacting to narcissists. But some of us have to deal with them. Some people have to deal with them through the family court system. The family court system is full of narcissists, right, claiming to be the better parent. So yeah, learn to respond and not react. That is my advice, Dawn. Absolutely. Grey rock as much as possible, i.e. be as monotone and uninteresting as possible, because they need your fuel in order to be able to exist. Narcs are empty, very empty, shallow people, and avoid them at all costs. But if you can't, then deal with them on a very minimal basis only. And just say a couple of things I want to directly deal with regarding McCann's. First of all, our friends on the live stream, Craig and Zoe, they've got an Only Can special coming up. I believe it's August the 17th. They'll be reviewing Sudden Impulse, book I've got in front of me by Bert Stallander. It's the book on the Madeleine McCann case. They'll also cover the recent claims by Julia Wendell that she is Madeleine. Obviously that was on a podcaster's, that was on Sean Atwood's podcast, and I will still maintain that it was absolutely wrong to have brought her on. She is a unwell, emotionally and psychologically unwell and vulnerable, and that was exploitation. And then when they brought on, I think, a psychologist, Dr. Becky Spellman, shame on you, Ms. Spellman, shame on you. Do you not have a duty of care for people? She's clearly unwell. She shouldn't be exploited like that. And the other thing is I received an email. Sorry, I haven't got the name in front of me. Do forgive me. And it was again to actually do with a Sean Atwood interview with the armchair detective. And the armchair detective actually makes these incredible claims to do with Jerry McCann, saying that Jerry McCann submitted a report regarding Hinkley Power Station stating that there is no risk of cancer to children living in the proximity. Well, I've asked around, including to Craig from Only Cans, who does an awful lot of research into Madeleine McCann, and we kind of debunked that. It would appear that Jerry McCann did not make that submission whatsoever. And it's so easy, isn't it, for people to go into podcasts and just blab off and say this. So if anybody, though, is able to find a source that Jerry McCann did truly make that report, please send it to me. I'd like to hear about it. But at this moment in time, we debunk it. Yes, we do. We debunk it. And on this day in history, 29th of July, 1981, guess what happened? The marriage of Charles and Lady Diana, later the Prince and Princess of Wales. It took place on the 29th of July, 1981, marking a significant high point in the popularity of the royal family. That was it, really. Truly it was. It was seen by a global television audience of 750 million people in 74 countries. A public holiday was declared in Britain. 28.4 million people watched on BBC and ITV, while 600,000 people lined the streets of London. Absolutely, Diana Spencer was the peak of royal popularity in this country. And do you want to know one of the commentators for the royal wedding? Well, it was none other than Rolf Harris. Rolf Harris was found guilty. He's a child predator. He was found guilty of carrying out a number of indecent assaults against children at the height of his fame. He committed 12 indecent acts against children in the period between the 70s and 80s. And on 19th of June 2014, he was found guilty of 12 counts of indecent assault. But he was a royal family favourite. He did a portrait of the Queen. And yes, he was chosen by BBC Radio 2 to do some of the coverage of the royal wedding. Because, of course, they didn't know who he was, right? Harris served his sentence at HM Prison Stafford, which is specifically for men convicted of those kind of offences. He was released on 19th of May 2017 after serving 3 years of his sentence. Anybody remember the royal wedding? It was the royal wedding. I mean, it literally was so huge. It was so significant. It was massive, massive. Thoughts about that? There was also that young child who went missing. I actually cover it in my film Paedophiles in Parliament. And he went missing close to Elm Guesthouse. Elm Guesthouse, of course, famously implicated with paedophiles within the British establishment. Yes, David King. Jimmy Savile was Sausage Finger's best buddy. Not sure, says, didn't Diana say those people are not human? Christine says, Diana was the light. Another Christine says, I was in France camping with my boyfriend and others, drove through London on the way, seeing folk camping out for the wedding. And rest in peace, lovely Diana, says Vanessa. Until the resurrection, Greek word, anastasis, a standing up again. Shug said, never saw a moment of it, thankfully. It was full of symbolism, Shin. Absolutely. Heppel, when you were in Malta at the time, were you? CHB said, I watched it. I was 12 or 13 at the time, and even then couldn't get over the age gap. I hear you. They used her, didn't they? Did he ever stop his affair with Camilla at any time whatsoever? Because and I know that The Crown is also fictional, but a lot of it is based on real life events. And there was that one scene in The Crown where they were doing the wedding rehearsal the day before the wedding, and he'd just come back from Gloucestershire where he'd been with Camilla. And that was when he'd had, I think, the ring engraved that Diana had found. Yeah, well, you were a full-on sheep back there, were you, Humphrey? Humphrey watched it. Teresa was on a horse riding holiday in Wales, and she watched it at the end of the holiday. My dad said he was leaving, so I was always tying those two events together. Oh wow. Windle Smith, thanks Sonia and everyone for the comments in chat. Shalini, no he didn't, Sonia. Vile man. Who am I talking about? Who are we talking about, Shalini? Remind me. Poor Diana, says Tara. I don't believe she was a Spencer. Her mum was having an affair with a Goldsmith. She even looked more like Zach and Jemima Goldsmith than her Spencer half-siblings. I found Charles Spencer absolutely reprehensible because remember when she was being stalked so heavily by the press, by the media, she wanted to get away from it all and go to Althorp, which was the Spencer family country estate, and he wouldn't allow her, would he? And then at the funeral, he did a big speech, and I just like, you had a chance to protect your sister. What happened? And we all know that he's a not well individual, according to his wife. His children are quite poorly. I think several of them, his wife had an eating disorder, like Diana, actually. Oh, Charles, right. Hand off as a coach, pastors in the park. Oh, lovely. Hamish says Thatcher got 1,000 hands. F off as her coach, pastors in the park. Jacqueline, I truly believe that, and it's horrible, isn't it, that Diana was used for breeding purposes? I think that's truly horrible. Poor Diana, says Pink Diamond. I'm sure she was flawed because everyone is, but she was definitely the light in that messed up family. Yeah, indeed. Absolutely, indeed. I'm expecting a guest to come on at 10, but they haven't shown up. So we'll just carry on talking. I love you too, Craig. Shrevron Sykes, you're absolutely right. We must never forget that Diana said the year before, I think it was, my husband is planning an accident with my car, brake failure and serious head injury, as she wrote in a letter to a friend. Absolutely. Let us not forget this. Funnily enough, Sonia, Carol Middleton was called Goldsmith before she married Middleton Tara. That's absolutely true. I did a little deep dive on Carol Middleton recently. You're absolutely right. Oh, here's our guest. He's here after all. Right. And thank goodness for that. No, not necessarily. I always have plenty in prep in case we need it. He's somebody I've talked to regularly, actually. Here he is. Hello.
Oops.
Hello, Campbell.
Sonia, hello.
Yes, Campbell. Everybody, this is Campbell McLaughlin from Jam for Freedom. How are you, Campbell?
I'm doing great. We've come down south. We did a gig 2 nights ago in a fantastic venue called the Cross Keys, which is in Ipswich, and that was kicked off by some people that were against lockdowns and they're really in support of small businesses, and so are we. So we just did a really good gig there, and obviously our festival's in 10 days. It's just 100 miles an hour at the moment. But how are you, Sonia?
Well, I'm really good, but you're not somebody who's afraid of work. Never has been in my experience. And as you say, your festival is coming. It's your second festival. So first of all, tell people, for those who aren't familiar, because you haven't been on this particular live stream, we've got some different audience as well, which is always welcome. Keep coming, lovely people. So tell people, give some people a background idea about Jam for Freedom. You obviously came together during lockdown, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a street musician from Watford. I moved to London just before the lockdowns, a couple of years before. Started building myself up as a street musician and saved money. Was working, a regular job on this, full time. Saved my money, put my money into starting a functions band, and then all these lockdowns happened, and I thought, oh, it will just be a few months of a flu. So I kind of waited around, kept working, and then in the summer of 2020, I started to bring these jams to parks in London. So at first it was just me with my suitcase and my drum kit and my speakers. And I just really wanted the communities to come out, get together. I thought, right, it's going to be a few months of this, guys. Let's just hang out. Let's get through it together. And then obviously it was a lot more, worse than that. And then I changed the name to the Jam for Freedom in December 2020. And I decided that in spite of all these so-called restrictions, I was going to go out on tour. We got a motorhome funded for a few weeks of rental. We went out, we did that. We did some massive shows in Hyde Park. Police were trying to shut us down. They did arrest me and tried to shut our shows down. And I spent a night in a cell and all of those rock and roll things. But at the end of the day, it's about love and light. It's about connecting people. It's about bringing new people together, new ideas, free thinking musicians, and just giving us all a platform. And we've done hundreds of shows across the world. We've got international chapters that have done gigs and tours in Australia, New Zealand, America, Canada. So this year's festival is another celebration of that culture that we've cultivated, and we'd love to see you all there.
We will make sure to put a link in the description. So let's have a look at the details. It's at the Apollo Centre, Springfield Farm, St Albans in Hertfordshire. It's August the 8th to the 11th. This is your second one. The first one, obviously, last year. And I did one of the panels on the Sunday. It was actually great. It was a brilliant panel. There was Bob Moran. There was Darren from The Light. There was film director and architect Robin Minotti. There was Brad from 5 Times August. And I ran that panel. It was great and brilliant turnout, fantastic turnout. But that was obviously your first one. Very ambitious plans, a lot of headaches, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started Jam for Freedom, I had someone get involved to help me run the media and things, and he ended up scamming me. And it was all this. It's hard to find good people to work with. And what happened at our first festival is we had some people that we'd invited to work with us, or we paid them to work with us, and they just didn't do the jobs properly. So we had to kind of fill in, and it caused a lot of headaches. But that's just life, and that's just learning. And we have a fantastic team this year to make sure everything runs smoothly, all on time. And the venue itself is just gorgeous. It's much bigger, much more spacious. It's got a river running through it. It's got a lovely campsite, surrounded by trees, surrounded by natures. We've even got a section of the campsite which is EMF free, where people are asked to turn their phones off. And we do encourage people as well to turn their phones off when they're here, or leave them at home, or bring a brick phone and just kind of connect. All that smartphone stuff it's just not what we're about at all. So it's just an evolution. This year's festival, we have Right Said Fred. We've still got 5 Times August coming back, Joseph Arthur, loads of the same musicians, but some fantastic new independent ones that we've found and that have got in touch with us. So it's just overflowing with over 150 things to do over the 4 days. But you can come for the day if you want. You can get a day ticket. Children come for free. Carers come for free if you're disabled. And we have other concessions as well. So it's just a real big celebration of love, connection, different ideas. You've got cancelled comedians, cancelled artists, meditation, yoga, talks. It's just so much to enjoy, and we'd love to see you all there.
It's hard work. It really is. I don't doubt it for a second. When I arrived there on the Sunday, and the first thing I saw was that the stage was just, it was dangerous. And obviously that wasn't down to you. That was down to the people who were responsible for that. And I do know that, and the thing is that, you know me, I'm really straightforward, right? And that is I promoted it, but I also was prepared to look at the criticisms about it as well. But I also think that there is a side to our side where we want to find fault with everything. And I think that is a problem, because you are a young entrepreneur. The people around you need to be heard. And what you did was ambitious. There were issues, definitely. And some of the criticism was fair. And I think you took it very well. And I think you took that criticism in order to be able to improve this year. You're at a different venue, aren't you?
Yeah, everything's improved. The company that provided us that stage last year, we actually ran them out of business. We took them to court twice, and I beat them twice. And they went on a summer where they basically scammed other festivals and other companies. So we just got really unlucky that for that. And even when the main stage went out of action, we closed it up and we created a whole new stage, and we bought new lighting in, and we paid for new staff to come in, and we just did all of that on the fly because this means so much to us, and celebrating artists and thinkers and positive change makers is everything that Jam for Freedom's about. And we're never gonna stop doing it. And the brand new venue is just sublime. It's so well maintained. It's crafted for festivals. So there's just, there's all the lighting's already there, and the toilets are there, and there's hot showers and things like that. So
nice.
Yeah.
Ooh, what a luxury. The thing is that I would not want to do what you're doing. That is a headache. It's a huge task. Anybody who's done any organizing at all will know how huge it is. But you have got, a huge volume of performers and entertainers taking place. There's a lot to accommodate. So exciting though. How many people do you reckon you're likely to get there?
So similar to last year, we like to keep it nice and intimate. And obviously the more people you have, the more licensing. So in terms of over the 4 days, we're expecting around 1,000 individuals. So yeah, it's the venue's suitable for up to 5,000 people. So there's tons of space. It's not people packed into sardines. There's tons of different areas, loads of nature to enjoy, the river, as I said. So it's a lovely, nice, intimate affair, and we'd all love to see you there. And thank you as well last year, Sonia, for coming on board and hosting that panel. It was fantastic. I think it's still on your Linktree or one of those things.
Yes.
It was great.
Yeah, it was great. Brilliantly filmed by Oracle Films and others. Of course, that particular video I think is an Oracle Films production though, and that was brilliantly filmed, and that was a great panel, and we got a great response, and the tent was big tent, packed. And it was, I mean, the thing is that when you get kind of like-minded people together in an environment like that, you know what it's like, Campbell, it creates its own atmosphere, doesn't it? It's like, there is like I'm struggling to articulate this, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like a higher level of kind of vibration that is created when you have, such like-minded, aware people together.
Yeah. I think what we do is a lot of what we do is, it's philosophical. It's kind of a mental game, sport in a way, learning new things and debating and understanding and thinking, oh, are we right? Are we wrong? What's the solution? It's kind of like a sport in that way. And I suppose when you hear about stories of athletes and they go, oh, when we went to the World Cup and we were around all these top players, and it just improves your game. And I think that is what life's about, is improving our lives and our health and our knowledge and our wisdom and our peace and our happiness. And that's what it's all about, is about having all those lovely people together that aren't afraid of conversation and dialogue, when a lot of the world still is quite afraid of discussing things and seeing what's really going on. And so it's great for us all to get together whenever we can. And obviously our celebration it's you know, it's a big one. There's loads of things going on, but there is loads of beautiful moments as well where you can all hang out and relax and get to know each other too.
Nice one. As I say, I'll put a link in the description. People can check it out there where you can get tickets, etc., etc. Campbell, you take good care of yourself. Lovely to see you again.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure. What were you going to say?
Just have a beautiful day, everybody.
You too, sweetheart. Campbell Mclinn, everybody, founder of Jam for Freedom. And as I say, I will put a link in the description so you can get tickets. Take good care of yourself, Campbell. Lovely to see you, sweetheart.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. And there we go. And you know, the thing is that what I like about Campbell is that I was very, very critical after the second one. And I had a guest on my show who was angry, actually, Nick Cotton, and I allowed him to say his piece. But Campbell took it all on the chin. And I think that's really good. If you can take it on the chin and you can take criticism and you can improve moving forward, then you deserve to be promoted around here. That's my attitude anyway. Yes, that's my attitude. Absolutely. Hello, short order cook. Best wishes, Campbell, says Peter. Did Dodie die before Dodie and Di died? King, you're messing with me. I taught to say, oh, just awful now. What's happening, TD? What's happening? Suppose I am here, but in all my years, it's getting worse. Every generation I taught to says same, young, too old, just awful now. What's going on? Not too far away, says Christine. Might go for the day. Shin says, Campbell, take care and good luck. Marcus says, after last year, you'll need all the luck you can get. Marcus, were you there? There were some issues. Oh, yes, there were. And Marie said, look at it as critique. Yeah, because I do think that he's taken that criticism and he's working with it. And I don't think you can ask more for anybody, really. Jam for Freedom says, lots of love. Have a beautiful day, everyone, and hope to see you at our festival in just 10 days' time. Just state of the place in Scotland. TD, I love Scotland. I literally think about moving to Scotland. Like when I was there recently in Edinburgh, and in the morning before I did the talk, I nipped out to the local Sainsbury's, right, and nipped out to get a coffee. And the first thing I see is a mountain, like by the local Sainsbury's. I'm like, this is the life I want to lead, right? Literally, like the backdrop, the scenery is incredible. Jim pulled in on a service station to listen in. God love you, Jim. Jim, rather, Jin. I'm going to be on holiday, says Pink Diamond. No, you can't ask more from anyone. Wendy, you're absolutely right. Come on, fam, hit that like button. Yes, please hit that like button, right? Please hit that like button. Right, what's going on in Parliament today? Today in the UK Parliament, the Home Secretary will be answering topical questions. The Home Secretary being the Right Honourable Yvette Cooper MP, who we've already mentioned earlier. And I think she has a grudge against Tommy Robinson. That's a whole other story for a whole other time. And so she is now the Home Secretary and has been since 5th of July 2024. And some of the questions that will be asked of her today include from Lee Anderson from Reform UK. And he wants to know what steps she is taking to tackle illegal crossings of the Channel in small boats. Well, we shall see, right? Kim Johnson, Labour in Liverpool, will be asking her if she will make an assessment of the potential merits of bringing forward legislative proposals to protect the right to privacy from live facial recognition surveillance. Yes, please, Kim. I completely support that. Laura is the sort of counterpoint to Lee Anderson, Laura Kirk-Smith. And rather than asking about what steps are being taken to tackle the illegal crossings, Laura wants to know what steps the Home Secretary is taking to clear the asylum backlog. So presumably Laura wants it faster and more efficient and more. And Helen Hayes from Labour wants to know what steps she is taking to ban ninja swords, zombie knives and machetes. Well, we've seen a lot recently, haven't we, about these weapons? But, you know, we had on, didn't we? We had on Mel Thomas recently, ex-cop, and he was talking, he's a weapons expert as well when he was in the police. But he was talking about, you know, why some of these weapons may need to be banned. But my thing is always the same, and that is these weapons are not harming people on their own. It is people that do it. And I'm just not convinced that banning weapons is the way forward. Well, banning things like ninja swords. Like some people would say, what's the point of them if it's not to hurt other people? I don't know that, but there will be people who use all of these things and have a reason for using all these things. Zombie knives, aren't they the ones that are like multi-edge that can be used like for prepping, for one example? I could have that wrong, by the way, but let me know. And Jess Zato from Labour wants to know what steps the Home Secretary plans to take to tackle violence against women and girls. Well, we'd all like to know that, wouldn't we? And then there's David Davis, Conservative MP. Now, he's got a question table, but it doesn't tell me on the parliamentary papers what it is. So I'm hoping that this is about raising questions to do with Lucy Letby, because David Davis has taken an interest in Lucy Letby. And as indeed have I, former neonatal nurse, convicted of murdering 7 babies and convicted of the attempted murder of 7 babies at the Countess of Chester Hospital in England. Looks increasingly likely that Lucy Letby is an absolute miscarriage of justice. It's all circumstantial evidence, and it would look increasingly so, because a lot of high profile people are prepared to stand up and talk about this. And I've never seen really so much of legacy media that is prepared to actually speak out about it. And I would suggest that's because they were already caught on the wrong foot on this, the way that they went in and demonized her. And now they realize, now they're looking at the evidence after the fact, after she's been convicted, they're like, oh, that doesn't add up. So they're starting to speak out about it. So I think that might be what David Davis will be talking about today in the Houses of Parliament. And geoengineering, chemtrails, weather modification, call it what you want, but just be sure to call it, because we need to. You know, we talk about geoengineering around here. And why do we do that? Because they won't do it on legacy media. And I received Karen sent me this image. Karen actually, literally, this is, I think, one of the clearest examples of weather modification. Karen said, morning, Sonia, hope you're well. Started off this morning without a cloud in the sky. Now there are lots of lines in the sky and strange cloud formations. So looks like another cloudy day in store for me. And I soon I will be able to demonstrate exactly what I'm talking about with imagery, etc. You know, we're only on episode 19. I want to probably get to about episode 30 before we go to the next level, because I think that we're still developing around here. But the imagery that Karen sent me, I think is absolutely shocking. I think it is one of the clearest examples of weather modification that I have seen in a very long time. Thank you for sharing that with me, Karen. Please keep sharing your images with me. And if possible, date them, tell me where they were taken. And if you also observed the weather after the spraying had taken place. How's the sky where you are? Gorgeous people. How are you? It's been overcast, says Rowie. Finally saw butterflies today, says Rachel. Yeah, butterflies, really, for real? Love that. Space Cat said it happens so much here in Manchester. If Emma says, if Lucy Letby looked like Rose West, no one would question the verdict. Emma, that isn't why I'm questioning. I don't care what they look like, right? They could both look like a bag of spanners to me. But the bottom line is that Rose West is clearly guilty, whereas I don't think Lucy Letby is clearly guilty. And I think that it may appear that she's a scapegoat for NHS failings. But I could be wrong. What else have we got here? I don't think we have geoengineering in New Zealand, says CHB. Yeah, Shin said, wasn't it weird how they let in rain during the opening Olympics? Yeah, so I think that I find it really interesting, right, that it absolutely chucked down during the Olympics, right? But, you know, Mother Nature is all powerful. Thank you, Craig. Welcome to Scotland. Sandra Ponton. He's remembered the name. That's some people call me in the street. Thank you very much. Oh, short order cook. It's a clear night and freezing in East Coast Australia. But wait, are you in autumn now? Are you in winter? Are you actually in the dead of winter now, short order cook? Yeah, the Blue Nomad said it has nothing to do with looks. And Rachel said, lovely in Leicestershire at the moment, but that could change. Shalini saw butterflies in the park yesterday afternoon. Hadn't seen any in ages. Maria has a video with people admitting to cloud seeding. I forgot all the details now. Mine gone blank. I'll send it to you, Sonia. Thank you. I very much appreciate that. No lines in the sky. First year of LD. What about Charlie Beach? I don't know what this is about. I see butterflies daily, says Choose Love. I love that. I love to hear that. That's wonderful. That really is. I was looking, I've got to tell you about this. Anybody know the trolley problem? The trolley problem is a psychological experiment. You know, I love a bit of psychology, right? It's a psychological experiment where it tests people about whether they will be prepared to sacrifice one person to save many people. Right. And it's, you know, obviously it's a moral dilemma. Let me talk you through it because it really is interesting. So basically, it's a very, very famous ethical thought experiment. And it challenges the ethics of sacrificing one life to save many. Because most people, for the most part, if you stand a chance of saving 4 and you have to lose the life of 1, that is what most people would take. But let me talk you through this challenge and see what you think. Right. So the most common version of it is that you're standing at a tram track. You know what? So hold on, look at that. That literally keeps clicking off. I don't know. This is a new camera. This is a new camera and it just keeps clicking off for some reason. Why do you keep doing that to me? It keeps clicking off and doing AI tracking for some reason. Elon Musk, get out of my camera, whatever. The trolley problem. Let's go back to it. So the most common version is you're standing next to a tram track. Okay, you're watching as a runaway tram approaches 5 people who, for whatever reason, are chained to the track and unable to escape. So you've got 5 people chained to the track, unable to escape. However, if you notice a nearby lever, the tram would be diverted onto a different track, killing the person connected to that track in its place. What do you do? So, and what this puzzle does, of course, is it challenges us to think about our moral responsibilities and what happens when we have the authority to make a life or death decision. Is it your opinion that the lives of those 5 people is more valuable than the life of that one person? I mean, it's a moral dilemma, isn't it? Because the alternative that saves most lives may appear to be the logical one, but it's vital to consider the worth of each life. Is 5 lives automatically more important than 1 life? What do you think? Tell me in the comments. What do you think you would do given it's an artificial situation, obviously, but a lot of these kind of thought experiments are. Leave them all be. Beyond Belief says, leave them all be. Shouldn't be playing on the tracks in the first place. Kenny says, stop the train. I like that. Thinking outside the box. We have more bees, says Shin. We planted special flowers for them from seed. Derek, loving you this morning, you people. I appreciate you so much. Derek wants to know, are the 5 people globalists? It's a fair point. Derek, would that change your opinion on what you should do? Christine said, by the time I worked it out, it would be too late. And Chris says, so many variables. Oh, Ashley says, I'm prepared to sacrifice myself. Heppelwin says it's an impossible decision. Yeah, it's an impossible decision. But imagine if you had to make it, though, right? Teresa throws a spanner in the works. And what if that one person was your child? Well, you know what you'd do, right? Unless you're a psychopath. I mean, wow. Claire, as a firefighter for the most, but too hypothetical. I will sacrifice myself to remove the system, but I'm not going to do it alone. The Blue Nomad said, if the 5 were world leaders, go for it. I think a theme is developing here. The 5 people can tie together, so it's fair. Captain Flint said, catch the next train. And Pink Diamond said, I know, I'm sorry. Pink Diamond said, I'm glad I don't live in the place where people are getting tied to tracks regularly. And Randy said, I will always save the ones I love. Are the 5 in a dinghy? George wants to know. I can see where this is all going. And Chris said, stand back and live stream it. That's what they do, isn't it? That's literally what would happen in this day and age. Right, now remember what I've said. I've got to try and get out of here for 10:30. That's not going to happen, because I think there's at least one story I want to do before I want to get to the final point. Let me just double check everything here. Yeah, so I think, we started off and people were really like, a lot of us were angry. Pete so ably said on X this morning, you're going to have a lot of people angry on the show today. And Pete, the thing is I think we worked through a lot of it, right? I think we're all aware that we are all being played to a certain degree. We don't know who are the actors. We don't. And some people who we think are the actors may be the good guys and the good girls. And some of the people that we consider to be the good guys and the good girls may be the actors. And that, I think, is part of the problem that we're dealing with at the moment. Is it's difficult to know who to believe and what to believe. And especially some of the imagery that is allowed on X these days. I do wonder whether part of the reason that, well, first of all, I am absolutely certain that part of the reason that Elon Musk bought X in the first place was to sack all the Twitter staff. Because remember, he talked about that woke mind virus last week when he was talking about his child and his child being trans. And clearly, Elon Musk is very, very angry with what he believes has happened with his child to do with puberty blockers. And who wouldn't be angry? But you were the father, Elon. You had some responsibility as well. And I know, not to take anything away from you, because there have been some really good people who have been very, very naive about the whole agenda. But nonetheless, it seems absolutely apparent to me that when Elon Musk bought X, it was to settle a lot of scores. And who can blame him? When you got that much money, who can blame him, right? Have people changed their minds on Elon Musk, by the way? Because some people believe he is an absolute shill, that, he is a globalist, that he's a Zionist, and all of the things that we pretty much dislike around here. Well, I say we in a general term, because I can't speak for you. And there may be people watching this who are globalists and who are Zionists. And you know what? You're welcome. You're welcome to be here too. Yes, you are. I want to talk about Nepo babies on Friday. I get so angry with Nepo babies. It's Nepo babies, of course. They are kids of famous people who get on purely because they are kids of famous people. And I completely loathe that. And there's so many of them, whether it's the Beckhams or the Baldwins or the Hiltons or the Kardashians or Drew Barrymore or Jake Gyllenhaal and on and on. So I want to talk about that, definitely. Hey, listen, I decided to learn some sign language. Yeah. And decided to start with easy phrases like hello, basic stuff, right? Then I got to I loved you. I love you, rather. And I discovered it was this, right? Now, for those interested in dark symbolisms, this is also seen as the sign of the devil. Even more interesting in the video that I was watching. So I love you in sign language can be much more simple of I love you. But this is apparently also another way to say I love you. And in the video that I watched, the guy said, and if you want to say like I love God, you would go like this and point upwards. And I'm thinking, wait, what? But then you have to ask, which one is right? Is it the devil symbolism, or is it I love you, or is it something else? Can they both be right? Can the same symbolism mean different things to different people? Well, of course it can. We know that, right? For fact, we know that. Oh, and the other thing I have to say, and that this was brought to my attention quite a long while ago, and I keep meaning to raise it up, and that is when you use your fonts, please stop using Jill Sans, because you know who created it, right? Predator Eric Gill. Eric Gill, whose statue is out front at the BBC, he created Gill Sans. Or Jill Sans, however it's pronounced, but he created it, and it's one of the most popular fonts that we have. I won't use it anymore, and I think we should boycott it so that it just goes into some kind of inexistence, right? Yeah, he was a clever man, no doubt about it, but he was also a predator. He was a predator to his own sister, to his own children, and to his dog. And then we honour him with his statue, his pedo statue outside the BBC, which they won't take down. And not only will they not take down, but they're now spending tens of thousands of pounds, actually hundreds of thousands of pounds, in protecting it. That's the kind of people they are in charge at the BBC. Right, I want to end on this note today. I think this is an important one. Dear Sonia, I loved the conversation with Mark Atwood and Abby Wynn. Please, can we have some more spiritual talk? It's a war out there and we need as much light as we can get. And that was echoed by also lovely Tanya, who sometimes makes it into the comments. And she said, I want to suggest that you talk about spirituality in every show. You don't need a guest every time. If you don't have a guest, you can devote part of your show to spirituality. I love Tanya. She's always giving me suggestions of how she would like the show to be. And I love that. Please carry on making suggestions. But I thought, in honor to Dan and in honor to Tanya, I thought, yeah, we are fighting a spiritual war. We saw that at the Olympics opening ceremony, didn't we? We saw it. But people overuse the word spiritual. So I thought that if people do struggle to get in touch with their more spiritual side, let's do an easy run through of how to achieve it. Right? Social media is full of people monetizing spirituality without a care in the world for it. They don't care. It's just another brand to some people. Some of the people who claim to be social media spiritual people have been some of the nastiest, backward looking inbreds I've ever encountered, frankly, online. Spirituality has to start within. It is not something that you can create an Instagram aesthetic about. Right? You cannot buy it. You cannot create it for your Instagram page. As I say, it is deep inside, but there is a way to manifest it, to access it and bring it out into the physical realm so that your very being is spiritual. I'm reminded of the brilliant quote about spirituality, and it never fails to make me go, yeah. That reminds me of who I am. And it was by Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. I think I've pronounced that right. And he said, it's very famous, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And I kind of agree with that. And I think that the connection of spirituality can be amazing. It will lead us to our higher purpose, our innermost self. What's really important to us, spiritual growth is not a walk in the park. It can be painful. It can be merciless, facing up to the facets of our life that may be meaningless. But there are so many benefits attached to developing the more spiritual side of yourself, not least to deal with this kind of demonic entities that we are presented with on world stages, right? I personally, they can say whatever they want about the Olympics, but that to me was a satanic agenda in absolute plain sight. And so we need to be able to counteract, because when we see stuff like that, it impacts us. It does. People were very, very angry. Don't have to be religious to be angry. It was like the whole sexualization, the debauchery, the degeneracy that was absolutely shoved at us. And the Olympics is not a one-off. So we have to be more spiritually savvy. And I want to talk through some of the ways that I personally have found my spirituality. It is absolute second nature to me. I was raised in that kind of environment, but it isn't for some people. Some people are just kind of taught us kind of like woo-woo. It's not real. It doesn't really exist, because we are taught to kind of detach from our source. This is my take on it. I believe that our very physical world is all about the external, the way we look. That's why people spend a fortune on cosmetic surgery. And the way we look is all important. But I actually believe the way we are inside is all important. So one of the first things that I make sure to do in order to be able to get in touch with myself is feel my feelings, right? One of the aspects of spirituality that often get overlooked is the importance of feeling whatever emotion comes up. Really important to do that. A lot of people, they feel an emotion, whatever that is, hurt, annoyance, anger, envy, rage, whatever, and they push it down. Whereas I've learned to not only, bring it up, but to encourage it and to embrace it and say, what is that I'm feeling and why do I feel like that, right? You can tap into your more spiritual side by just acknowledging your feelings. Get out in nature, right? I'm talking to you. I don't have shoes on. And I'm not in nature at this moment in time. But when I finish, I'm going out into the garden and I will be walking on the grass without my shoes on. And however you connect with nature, I walk my dog, I watch the deer in the local park, and as much nature as humanly possible. And I know we're struggling with that, because there is no doubt about it that we have a shortage of bees and flies and ants and butterflies, although some people in the comments are seeing these in their environment. But obviously all environments are being treated differently and being subjected to certain things differently. So get out in nature. That is another absolute way to access your more spiritual side. And you want to know another one? Gratitude. Like, I am so grateful for everything and everyone that has brought me here, the people who donate, the people who suggest guest suggestions, the people who rock up on our liveliest of live chats, the people who tweet, the people who share this program. I am grateful to all of you. And I'm also grateful to my loved ones, to my good health, for being somebody who doesn't give up. I'm a finisher. So if you're in anything with me, know I plan to finish it, right? So that is the kind of person I am. So I'm grateful for those sides of my character. But gratitude is a huge way to lock into the more spiritual side of yourself, as is indeed serving others. There is nothing quite like doing something for other people without any expectation of a return, to be able to lock in more closely to who you are spiritually. So whatever that is, whether that's going and serving at a homeless shelter, or just, you know, sorting through your old clothes and your old shoes and giving them away, whatever it is, the service of others is a wonderful way to get in touch with your spirituality. And you know what? Seeing the good in others is also a wonderful way to get in touch with your spirituality. Even people you don't like, if you're able to at least see some kind of silver lining to the cloud that certain people may create about you, it will help you. The aim is not for horrible people to live rent-free in your head, but for you to be able to say, well, this is who they are. I'm going to dispense with them now and on to the next thing. And another way to get in touch with your spirituality, look after your body. And I mean head to toe, as much as you humanly can, even if it's simple things like me getting the correct walking boots, right? And also connecting with like-minded people. We were talking about this earlier with Cameron from Jam for Freedom. The importance of connecting with like-minded people. Whenever I go out at speaking events, the room is just full of, it's spirituality. There's no other way to accept that, to explain it. It just feels like this incredible, beautiful, all-encompassing, all-embracing spirituality. And the other thing about embracing and accessing spirituality is accept the present moment. It's not an accident. Like you being here right now, watching this, whether you're watching it on playback or whether you're watching it on live, it's not an accident. Me here talking with you is not an accident. Okay. None of these things are accidental. And also meditation. Lots of people recommend meditation for accessing their higher self as well. And also, one of the suggestions, I put it out to some friends about accessing spirituality, and they said, do things that light you up inside. So whatever that is, whatever makes you feel good about yourself in the place and your place in this world, do it. Absolutely do it. And try and be in contact and in touch with people you love more often. We're becoming incredibly isolated. And I'm reminded to say that because happy birthday to my daughter's grandmother on her father's side. It was her 80th birthday yesterday, and we all got together. It was a surprise event. She's a church going lady, and there was a party in the church, and it was absolutely amazing. And big shout out to, you know, the fam bringing everybody together. It was just so wonderful. And I was so grateful to see people that I haven't seen for years and get to hug people. And, you know, people who were related to my daughter, her half brothers and sisters. And it just absolutely wonderful. Gratitude that we're all together, all in the same room. And we're able to celebrate our wonderful Neva. Happy birthday to you, Neve. Absolutely brilliant grandmother. I actually feel a bit weepy even talking about her. She was the most ideal grandmother that a woman could have, frankly. When I gave birth in 1997, she gave me a piece of advice, and that was to ignore all advice. And I thought that was absolutely marvelous from my mother-in-law to be able to say that. She said, the only person that matters in this is how you feel. She wasn't discounting what her son felt, but she was talking about the parents, because she said people rush forward when you're new parents and they are all this advice that they want to impart. She said, but listen to yourself. And she was absolutely spot on right. And I followed her through on all of that, including making decisions about jabs, etc. So I am really grateful today for Neva. Happy birthday, darling. We love you so, so, so much. We absolutely do. And all of these things are a way to access your spirituality, you know, gratitude, being around people you love, being able to accept the present moment for what it is. And because the fact is that if you search for your spirituality, trust me on this, it will pay dividends. Yes, it will. I've got to go, people. I have to go today. And but I just want to thank you all for being here. Is there a different hand for each? I'm not sure what we're talking about there. God, those were comments from ages ago. My dad is in his 80s and his sister 89. next week, and we have family celebration next weekend on South Coast. Can't wait. Haven't seen my family since Christmas as they live in Northern Ireland. Oh, Shalini, have a brilliant time. And once you get the bug, you can't get rid of it. My daughter doesn't take advice from me, says Christine. Like the sound of that. Listen, I just want to say thank you all so much for being here today. I am truly grateful to you all. And I am, of course, going to end on a quote because that is what I do around here. It's from Ben Carson. And he said, we are more than just flesh and bones. There's a certain spiritual nature and something of the mind that we can't measure. We can't find it. With all our sophisticated equipment, we cannot monitor or define it. And yet it's there. You know it is. Access it this week, and you will be happier for it. So if you are struggling to find your true spirituality, follow all those, follow some of them. They're easy to follow. It's not hard. Amazing show. So grateful to catch live, says Teresa. Thank you. And thank you, Julie. And thank you, Jacqueline. And thank you all. I love you all. I'm very grateful to you all. And Julie says, have a fabulous week, everyone. And Catherine says, have a great week ahead, everyone. I absolutely love the vibes that are created by our live chatters. They are wonderful. Thank you, Lyra. Yes, she's an amazing woman. Absolutely amazing. Embrace the vibes, says the Count of Jermaine. Love you all, even the haters, says Soldier. I agree with you. Love to you all. Take good care of yourself. Thank you to the wonderful, wonderful mods. Crazy Bunny and Shin. Love you both so much. And I will see you Friday. Take good care of yourself, everybody. Have a fantastic week.